You earned it. So why does spending it feel so wrong? You planned for it, you saved for it, you checked your account and the money was there. And when you spent it, you felt guilty anyway. Maybe it was a slightly nicer meal out, a clothing purchase you'd been putting off for months, a hobby item you'd been deliberating over for weeks. Maybe you made the purchase and then spent the following hours second-guessing it, calculating whether you should return it, checking your balance to assess the damage. If this experience is familiar, you're not alone, and you're not being irrational in some simple way. Money guilt is a specific psychological phenomenon with identifiable causes. Understanding those causes is the first step toward a healthier relationship with spending your own money. For most people, money guilt has roots that go further back than they realize. The beliefs we hold about money, many of which operate below the level of conscious thought, were mostly formed in childhood through direct messages and indirect observation. Repeated phrases like, "money doesn't grow on trees," "we can't afford that," "don't waste money." These create neural pathways that associate spending with danger or shame. Even when your adult financial situation is completely different from the circumstances in which those messages were formed, the associations remain. You might earn a comfortable income, have savings in place, be spending within a well-thought-out budget, and still feel that pang of guilt at the checkout that was programmed into you 30 years ago. The guilt isn't responding to your current reality. It's running an old program. Scarcity mindset is one of the most persistent contributors to spending guilt, and it's particularly powerful in people who've experienced real financial difficulty at some point, either personally or in their families. When your brain has genuinely experienced the fear of not having enough money, it develops a protective mechanism. Treat every pound as precious because the next crisis might be coming. This mechanism is adaptive and intelligent in conditions of genuine scarcity. It becomes counterproductive when your circumstances have changed, but the protective response hasn't updated to reflect the new reality. You feel guilty spending a reasonable amount on something you enjoy because part of your brain is still operating as though you're in the difficult period rather than the stable one. The guilt is protective in origin. It's just protecting you from a situation that no longer exists.
The personal finance community does a lot of good in terms of financial education and awareness, but it also has a tendency to amplify spending guilt in unhelpful ways. Content that celebrates extreme frugality, that treats every non-essential purchase as an obstacle to financial independence, that frames normal, enjoyable spending as weakness, creates an environment where even thoughtful, planned, affordable spending starts to feel like something to be ashamed of. Comparison plays a central role here too. When you see someone posting about saving 70% of their income, your own spending, however reasonable, can feel excessive by contrast. But that comparison ignores every dimension of context. Your spending should be judged against your plan and your values, not anyone else's choices.
There's a useful distinction worth drawing between two different kinds of discomfort around spending. The first is healthy financial awareness, the mild discomfort you feel when you're about to spend money you don't have, or on something that conflicts with your stated financial priorities, or impulsively in a way you'll probably regret. That discomfort is valuable signal. It's your financial values communicating that something is misaligned. The second kind is destructive money guilt. Shame and anxiety you feel about spending that's planned, affordable, within your budget, and aligned with things that genuinely matter to you. That guilt isn't protecting you from anything. It's punishing you for nothing. Learning to distinguish between these two, to honor the first and consciously release the second, is one of the most powerful shifts in how you relate to money. The most practically effective solution to destructive spending guilt sounds almost too simple. Give yourself explicit, pre-approved permission to spend. Build a guilt-free spending allocation into your budget. Name it. Fund it on payday. Then spend it on whatever genuinely brings you joy or meets your personal needs, without any requirement to justify or track the individual transactions. When you spend from that allocation, you're not being impulsive or financially irresponsible. You're executing a plan you deliberately created. The guilt has no legitimate basis because the decision was already made thoughtfully when you set the budget. This isn't a trick or a workaround. It's the recognition that a budget which never includes enjoyment is a budget that creates resentment and eventually gets abandoned. Money is a tool. That's it. It's not a moral standard. Having it doesn't make you a better person. Saving it doesn't make you virtuous. Spending it doesn't make you irresponsible. Money has no inherent meaning beyond what we choose to do with it. When you spend money intentionally on things that align with your values, within a budget you've built deliberately, on experiences or purchases that genuinely improve your life, that's not waste. That's money doing exactly what it's for. A life of earning and never spending isn't financial success. It's financial anxiety wearing the costume of discipline. You are allowed to enjoy the money you work hard to earn. Building that permission into how you think about money changes your relationship with it permanently. If spending guilt is a persistent part of your financial life, it's worth asking honestly, is this guilt protecting me from anything real? Is it preventing genuine financial mistakes? Or is it a legacy program from a different time in my life? A message from someone else's financial story that somehow became mine? Most of the time, examined honestly, the guilt turns out to be the second kind. Not a useful signal, but an old emotional pattern that's overstayed its welcome. You can acknowledge where it came from, understand that it served a purpose once, and consciously choose not to let it dictate how you relate to money today. That's not recklessness, that's financial maturity. Subscribe to MoneyPatch. Small steps, big change.